Hello everyone, it's Anissa, founder of Top Health Equine Partners. I'm shooting this video with my lovely iPad while I'm basically on the road serving my clients here in Germany, just across the border from Austria. And I'm at a friend's place right now, and this friend has also been one of my very first clients, and I'm very lucky to have her because she always lets me crash on her couch every time I'm in this area. And I got a couple of hours left before I start working again, so I thought I'd simply seize the moment and use those hours to shoot a video for you about the Centered Riding Symposium, which took place in Vienna on the 5th and 6th of November. And I was attending this symposium, although I've never been to a centered riding clinic, and nor did I read the books or watch the DVDs, but I knew a tiny little bit about the concepts of breathing, centering, soft eyes, building blocks, and clear intention. And the list of lectures looked really promising, so I signed up for it. And I'm really glad I did because it was an amazing event. I think there must have been approximately 300 people attending it. I'm not quite sure though. Somebody told me there were 130 people from foreign countries. I had a great time chatting with some riders from Finland and from Canada, and I captured some sequences with my iPad, and as always, like on such occasions, I took notes like the maniac. I filled pretty much of this little notebook. So I thought it might be a nice idea to shoot a video for you to summarize my favorite moments and quotes. Saturday morning started with Susan Harris and Peggy Brown doing their famous visible horse and visible rider demonstration, for which they used an 18-year-old ex-jumper. You can see here his name is Clay, and they painted one of his side with his bones and the other side with his muscles. So it was nice to see how the bones and the muscles move with the horse. I liked a few things they were talking about. Like you could see that if you bend your horse far back in his neck and not at the front where it's supposed to bend, this blocks the inner hind leg. So this is something you want to think about, especially if you're doing turnarounds. And also, if you see Clay come around to the side, there is that muscle, that latissimus dorsi, painted in dark green right behind the shoulder blade. So if you have clinging knees, those pinch into that muscle and they decrease the movement and the looseness of the front legs and the shoulders. So that's something you want to think about if your horse is stiff in its shoulders. Also, what was nice to see was the whole connection between the mouth and the hind legs through the hyoid bone, which is located at the back of the tongue, at the end of the tongue. And there are muscles that attach to the hyoid bone. They run through the inside of the front legs and attach to the belly muscles, which of course go all the way back to the hind legs. So that's why it's totally logical that a strong hand blocks the hind leg on the same side. Of course, it's true. True collection does not come from force from the mouth, it comes from the muscles of the base of the neck. So I thought it was a really nice demo on the ground. Clay was a great horse. He was a really good sport. It was nice to see. Then Peggy mounted Clay. So Peggy Brown was wearing a bone suit herself, so it was really nice to see how her body affected Clay's body. Instead of telling you what they did, I'd rather share a few quotes of her with you. One, of course, was, "Good hands come from an independent seat, so you don't have to hang on to your reins." Well, this should be crystal clear, but the sad thing is, for many people, it isn't. And what she said a couple of times was, "Don't look at your horse like a predator. They know exactly where you are looking." And that's so true. You could easily tell as soon as Peggy started to stare at Clay's ears, he got stiff and careful and, had that worried look on his face. And I mean, this is something that I should remember every time I'm on the horse, because I have this tendency too to look at my horse's ears, although they've never fell off before. So this is very common among riders. And what they said was, it's important to balance your heavy head and have your eyes level. Yes, next time I'm going for a ride, I'm trying to remember this. So, Sally Swift, the founder of centered riding, used to say to be centered on our horses is fair and humane. And if you think about that, horses are actually not built to carry weight, then we should at least have the decency to make us easy and enjoyable to carry around for our horses. And well, I've already said it. It was nice to see with the bone suit how Peggy's body affected Clay's body. Like her hips affected his hips, her ankles his hocks. The tighter she was in the shoulders, the tighter Clay got. And I mean, this is something you can see everywhere in the world. Like in any given riding arena, you could see how the rider affects his horse's movements. But it was so nice to see this whole concept in action because they were saying, well, and now I'm going to tighten this joint and I'm going to tighten that part of my body, and then you're going to see how the horse is going to be affected by it. So it was a great, great demo. I'm really glad I could watch it and I learned a lot. Not everything was totally new, but it was built nicely and I loved it. Would watch it every time again. Asa Kottes was giving his lectures on Saturday afternoon. Asa is a pretty well known dressage trainer in Austria, and he used to be with the Spanish riding school for 42 years, and he's even been one of their chief riders. I really enjoyed his lectures because you could totally feel and sense his passion about horses and riders and his passion about helping them to achieve a more harmonious relationship. So I thought I'd simply share my favorite quotes of his lectures with you because I wrote down a ton of them. And he started his lectures with, "There's nothing new in writing. It's about reminding people of the importance of feel, balance, and harmony. And we all have to ask ourselves every day when we ride, am I prepared in my mind and in my body?" So, isn't that totally true? I mean, how much of you have gotten onto the horse feeling grumpy and kind of in a bad mood, and the ride didn't turn out as good as we liked it to be? So, he also talked about his kind of concepts of training, where it's important for him to never be stronger with your hands than you can drive forward with your seat and with your aids, and of course never to overpush riders or horses because this only creates tension and unhappiness. And he also uses different aids to drive his horses forward than he uses to bring them into a collected manner. I think one of his favorite, all-time favorite sentences is, "A horse without a rider is still a horse, but a rider without a horse is not a rider anymore." And I think that's pretty true too, because I mean, it totally underlines how important horses are to him and how they always come first. Because, I mean, let's tell the truth, without horses, we'd just be two legged creatures that have no idea what to do with their time and money, right? So, thanks, Arthur, for this great lecture. I really enjoyed it too. And yeah, I can think about attending more of his lectures in the future.